Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you all here today for this premiere video. Regardless of what device you're watching from today, you'll notice we've got a chat box rolling. I am here live with you, so feel free to say hi, let me know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions at all as we proceed today, feel free to ask and I'll do my best to answer those. I want to jump straight in because we've got lots to get through today. It's the official launch of my 2024 Creative Croptoberfest downloadable book. This is available now at papersweetpea.com. I will directly link this below this video. But I have been really busy designing and creating and putting together this booklet. I've designed 6 layouts for you all, which I'm going to, of course, show you in a moment. And they've been put together in this step-by-step instructional guide where you can recreate these layouts for yourselves. I've worked, of course, with the Croptoberfest products from Creative Memories. However, I do just want to stress this guide isn't exclusive to the Croptoberfest products. So that means you can create these layouts with any collection that you like. The formulas that I've put together to create these layouts, you'll be able to use those time and time again. If you're a fan of my sketchbooks, then I just want to mention this booklet is very different to my sketchbooks. As I just mentioned, it features step-by-step instructions and full color photos for you to scrap along to. So for today's video, I want to show you the 6 layouts that are included in this guide. I'm actually going to be creating a 7th layout for you and also sharing a special little embellishment that is included in this guide as well. So I'm just going to set this to the side. I've actually downloaded and printed mine. You can do the same and place all of these pages into a binder. You can staple it together, or perhaps you just like to save it to your device. That's completely up to you. So I just want to quickly flip through the layouts that you will be able to create from working with my guide. And as you can see, there are 6 designs, and they have been designed to work either individually or they will coordinate together as double page design options. And just remember, you know, you can use whatever papers or embellishments that you like. You don't necessarily have to use the exact same as what I have done for my layouts, but that just gives you a little look at what you'll be able to produce from working with my download. Here's a little look at the bonus layout that I'm going to be creating for you all today. Now, the instructions for this layout are a YouTube exclusive, so you won't find them in my PDF guide. However, once my premiere video has finished today, it will be recorded and available on YouTube. So you can go back and rewatch it as many times as you like. The instructions for the Scarecrow embellishment are featured in your PDF guide as a free little bonus, so you can recreate him for yourselves as well. Right, so I really just want to jump straight in and we get creating. We've got a little bit to get through. I've gone ahead and I've got my photos all printed and ready. I'm working with a 4x6 photo and 2 3x4 photos, but I encourage you to, you use whatever size suits the theme that you're documenting for your layout if you're going to recreate this page as well. I've got my Croptoberfest supplies here. I did not, if you downloaded the free supply list for my Croptoberfest booklet, you would have seen that I had written on that the bonus layout I'm creating today, the supplies weren't included in that list. And the reason being, you can use any collection you like to create this layout. The new Autumn Cottage collection from Creative Memories would be perfect for this design today. But since we're in Croptoberfest theme, I thought that I would work with my Croptoberfest supplies. So I'm just going to get the papers out that I want to work with, and it's going to be this fantastic plaid paper. Now, like always, when I open a new packet of paper, I do just like to cut that little end of the seal, and the reason being is sometimes it can actually make the opening of the little plastic bags a little more narrow, and you can crumple your papers getting them out. So I'm going to be working, this would probably be my most favourite paper from the whole collection. This is from the project recipe kit, and I'm going to be working with both sides of this. And I'm also going to need this lovely shade of yellow as well, and this will be for our border. So first things first, we need to cut the base for our border, and I'm going to do that from this yellow paper. I'll just bring in my 12-inch trimmer, and the base needs to be a 3-inch by 12-inch width and length. It's just the one cut. This is a great technique for any leftover scraps of paper that you may have. And as I said, I'm going to be working with both sides of this paper. So I'm going to trim 9 strips at 1/2 inch by 12. And I know that seems a lot. You will have a little bit left over. But because we're trimming that from the one sheet, we can make all the cuts from this. If you're using 2 different sheets of paper, then you would probably cut 4 strips from one and 5 from the second. And again, you'd still have a little bit left over. 3. 4. 5. Once we've got all of these lengths cut, we're going to cut them down to obviously shorter strips. So we'll be able to do a few strips at a time to make that a quicker process. How many have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we need 2 more. One and our final. Okay, so that's all we need of that paper now. So we can put that in our leftover pile for another project. And we've got our 9 1/2-inch wide strips. So what you need to do now is cut these down to 4-inch long lengths. So I'm actually going to put 2 or 3 together just to minimize my cutting. And then we can just make sure that they're all lined up nice and evenly together. And we can cut those into 4-inch long strips. It does make it quicker, and it helps to preserve the life of your blade too of your trimmer if you're doing multiple cuts like that. So just stack those neatly together. You know how you just, with a collection, you just get one paper that just really, you really take to. Well, this was the paper for me. Beautiful tones. Okay, our final few here. We'll just again line those up. Making sure they're all even. Okay, so that's all the cutting we need to do now. So we've got our fun little pile of 4-inch long strips, and we can bring back our border base. And you just want to line that up to one of your horizontal lines there on your cutting mat, like so. And I can bring in my tape. I'm going to work with repositional tape just in case I need to lift anything off. And I'm going to start with the check pattern on the reverse side of this paper. So that's the side up we want to see first. And basically what you want to do, I'm just going to add some adhesive to that, but you want the top of the left side of this strip to be in line with that top left corner, and you want the strip to be diagonal, coming down 1/2 inch. Okay, so starting at that top corner and going down to the 1/2 inch marking on your cutting mat. Now, because we've cut these to the 4-inch length, it means we're going to have a little bit of overhang, but I wanted you to have something there to work with, and we can trim that away later. But that second strip, I'm just doing the exact same thing, working with my cutting mat, and I'm just making sure that the top edge of this strip sits on the 1/2 inch mark below the first strip, and then it's diagonal down to the same on this right side. We're sitting at the top edge is 1/2 inch from the previous, and we're just going to continue that all the way down the strip. So just the best thing you can do is just to make sure you keep that base piece, you keep it vertical and even on your cutting mat, and that way you're going to get a nice even result for all these diagonal strips. And it's just a matter now of making your way down that base piece, working with all of your little decorative strips on that slight diagonal. And you can use either your scissors to cut away those pieces that are overhanging on your border, or you can slide it back into your 12-inch trimmer. It's completely up to you. Just keep making my way down the strip. And I've run out of measurements there on my cutting mat, so I'm just going to slide that up. Oh, got the jumps. This is actually a very common technique. You'll see it used a lot in card making as well. But I'm just adapting it to suit our layout for today. And we're going to finish, you'll see the final piece, the bottom edge of that right side will finish in the bottom right hand corner of your strip. Now I'm not going to cut away the overhang at the moment. I'm going to start with our second row of strips. Now with this second piece, we're going to start, we'll add our adhesive, and you want this left side to be back in that top left hand corner, and you want the bottom right edge strip to go to that top right hand corner. I'm not sure if I'm explaining myself properly, so I'm going to bring it up closer to the camera. But we've got this side completely covering that corner, and on the diagonal, the bottom edge, if I lift it up, you can see the bottom edge is in that top right hand corner. Okay, once you've got that first piece in place, it's going to be really simple to just keep going now with the rest of your pieces, because all you need to do with them is our second piece will come in and we're just going to overlap the edges of that underneath strip. So I'll hold that up to show you. I'll come in with my second piece and it's in line with our underneath check pieces. So as long as you get the position of this first strip correct, so that you know you're covering the corner here and it's running up to that top corner and actually off the edge, then the rest will just fall into place for you really, really simply. I'll just line that back up. It's just a matter of zigzagging our way down our base strip, and you'll find it doesn't take on its proper shape. Like, I mean, it looks striking now, yes, but it won't take on its proper appearance until we cut away all that excess, and then the border itself will take on a whole new appearance. So we'll just keep crossing those pieces. And I'm not so much using my cutting mat's measurements for this second row. I'm really just lining that up to those checkered pieces underneath. And if you've got them right, putting them into place, you're not going to have any problem with this second layer. Sometimes where needed, I'll tell people to avoid certain checks or directional prints. Sometimes with you know, decorative borders, it's easy to make it difficult for yourself in getting these patterns to line up. But with this border, you can see I've quite comfortably used a check pattern, and you don't really need to worry about, you know, your patterns not lining up with this style border. So you can use whatever print you like, really. Okay, so coming towards the bottom now. And for this last piece, what you need to do, similar to that first piece, is we need to actually run it off the edge of our border. But I'm going to line up that right side strip, and it will come down to the very bottom edge of this corner here. So I'll hold that up to show you. Oh. So our strip is covering our base strip here on the corner, and on the diagonal, the top edge of this strip will sit on the bottom corner, and we can trim away that excess. So you've got two little strips left over. You might be able to use that for some little tags or some journaling strips on another project, or perhaps a card, so don't throw those away. I'm actually going to work with my scissors to cut it away. I know I could put it in my 12-inch trimmer, but I prefer to do this freehand. I encourage you to do whatever feels comfortable for you. But I'm just turning my border strip over, and just with my scissors, following the edge of it, I'm just going to cut away all those little pieces. And when we flip it back over, that's when you'll see the border really take on the effect that we're going for. Okay, so we can swipe across this bottom strip now. Again, I'm just taking my time. Okay, and you can turn that back over, and that's where you get the first glimpse of our border. I'll just get rid of my little confetti pieces. Now, that itself on its own, that width, you can see, still makes for a really, really striking border. And that's a great technique. I think this would be fabulous to see in like a Christmas page. I think, you know, the reds and greens of a Christmas theme, it would look really great as a border like this. However, today, for today's layout, we're going to maximize our border and we're actually going to cut it in half. So I'll bring back in the 12-inch trimmer and I'm just lining that up to the 1.5-inch marking, because if you remember, we cut the base strip to 3 inches wide. And when you've got that straight in your trimmer, just run it through. You might need to go down and back up because we're going through a few layers of paper. And then you're left with your 2 woven borders like so. So now we can back these and get them ready to apply to our background piece of paper. So I'm just going to slide that off my cutting mat for now so we can cut those base pieces, the contrasting pieces. And I'm going to work with the deep sea green cardstock from my project recipe kit. Again, depending on what you're working with as to what papers and cardstocks you choose. And I'm also going to use a sheet of, well, not a sheet, a few strips of bright white cardstock. I'm obsessed with this cardstock and I'm really happy that Creative Memories brought this tone out. I use a lot of white cardstock and sometimes I used to struggle. The white cardstock is more of a off-white tone, and sometimes with some of the embellishments they'll be, or the stickers will be a really bright white, and it can sometimes clash with the white cardstock. So I was really happy that Creative Memories brought out this bright white cardstock, and it's a really nice thickness as well. Now I'm actually going to use my pinking blade to cut the white cardstock. You can use whatever decorative blade you like, but I just thought this would be a fun blade to use. And we're going to cut 2 strips. I'm just going to cut a very small strip off this to get that going. Okay, so I'm going to cut this at a 1.75 width. So just line that up best you can with that pinking edge and cut through. And I am going to cut a second. So again, 1.75 inches and cut through. I love the effect that this gives us. I used to have a really old pair of pinking shears, use them all the time, but now having this blade, it just makes life so much easier. You could use any of your decorative blades that you have. It doesn't have to be the pinking. Going to slide back in my straight blade, and now from the deep sea green cardstock, I'm going to cut 2 2-inch wide strips. Okay, so I can set our trimmer aside and let's bring back in our borders. And first up, we want to adhere the white base to our little plaid border, and we're just going to see a hint of that pinking edge poking underneath like so. I think that's a really fun effect to see. So I'll just add a little bit of tape to the back of that. Nice and square on my cutting mat, and we can line that up so that we get a nice even space top and bottom, which I haven't. Let's try that again. and we can stick that into place. We'll do the same with the second strip. Just flip that over. Guess who's run out of tape again? Happens every time I film. Lucky I'm prepared. So I'm just going to take out my replacement tape runner. And I'm just going to make sure, sometimes you get like little clogs of adhesive built up. Sometimes that's hard to avoid. I always just make sure when I change my tape run over that I just pull any of that out, because sometimes it can interfere with the mechanism of your tape, and we don't want that. We don't want to waste any. I would shudder to think at how much adhesive tape I go through in a year. My goodness. It would be a lot. Okay, so I've stuck that into place. So that's our first layer. And then we can come in with our deep sea green. So just make sure you get that even top and bottom. And then you can add here the bottom section of your cardstock as well. So we can bring in our second and just the same deal. We can add that to the base. So we've ended up, we've now got a 2-inch wide border for the top and the bottom of our layout. So without further ado, I can bring back in my papers, and I actually want to work with the aqua paper here, this toned paper here from the accessory paper pack. This is a new paper pack, so again I'm just going to pop a little slit in the side there. No judgment for using my good scissors to cut plastic. I can hear you all shrieking. Ah, what's she doing? It's called lazy. Okay, that's the paper I want. So we can bring that into our cutting mat, and I'm just making sure that I've got it square. And I want to adhere this border 1/2 inch up from both the bottom and 1/2 inch down from that top edge, if that makes sense. Keeping it nice and simple. So if you've got your paper square on that cutting mat, you know it's going to be nice and even. So we can adhere those into place, stick them down. So that's got both our top and bottom. Now it's completely up to you. I'm choosing to work with my borders horizontally. You may prefer to have yours going vertically. The choice is completely up to you. But I'm actually going to get my photos into place before we start working on our little scarecrow. And again, like I said, I've got a 4x6 photo, and then I've got 2 3x4 photos here that I would like to add into place. We've got a lot of colour going on in this layout, but I am going to work with the pumpkin cardstock that was in my project recipe kit. However, I do just want to cut down my photos a little bit. So I'm just going to bring in my 12-inch trimmer, and I'm going to cut a 4-inch width. And the reason why I'm cutting my photos down is just, I mean, it's the smallest amount. It's just so that I can get more from my cardstock, conserve as much as we can. So we've got one 6x4 photo mat, and then we can have two 3x4 photo mats. And I'm just going to check that that width is correct, because sometimes, yes, sometimes the cardstock is just a little bit wider than the 12 inches. So you can see I've just trimmed away just that tiny little slither. So that has our photo mats. Then I'm going to bring in our fabulous new photo trimmer. I gave my review on this in my last video. Happy to report I'm still madly in love with it. I'm using it constantly. I'm just going to trim these photos down just 1/4 of an inch. So they're going to be 2.75 by 3.75. So it's not a lot that I'm cutting off. It's just the smallest amount. And we want this to be 3.75, and I do just want to check, it's going to be tight. I'm actually just going to take the smallest amount off the base, because we still want our subject matter, you know, to be within that boundary. We don't want to be cutting off, you know, too much. So we've got 2.75 by 3.75, and I'm going to do the same for this photo. And I think I'm going to cut just a little bit off top and bottom, just to keep that subject matter centered. And we just need a little bit off the width here, like so. All right, so I do just want to mention, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my last video or not. For those of you who do have the new photo trimmer, really work hard at training yourself to pick it up from the bottom edge like so. It's really easy to just grab something on your desk when you need it, but I can tell you, if you grab it like this, it is really easy to release that blade, and I would hate anyone to cut themselves. I did it in about the first 5 minutes that I owned this. So I'm speaking from experience. So do just train yourself to, you know, pick it up from underneath. Or I know a lot of you store your photo trimmer with an elastic band around it, just as a safety measure. If you've got a wide elastic band, it'll help just keep that blade in place for safety. We're all about safety here. All right, so I've got my photo mats. Our photos are trimmed to size. All right, so with our photos matted, I'm going to get these adhered into place. I'm going to add the 6x4 to, the 4x6 to the right side here, with our little 3x4s next to it. This would be a great page that you could add one of the peekaboo pockets to, especially for the 4x6 photo here. You could add that extra pocket for an extra photo if you like. Okay, so I've got my photos into place, so we can work on this space of the layout now, and that's going to be our little Scarecrow, which is the bonus project in my Croptoberfest PDF guide. If you didn't want to add Scarecrow to this particular design, you could quite easily add another 4x6 photo here to the left. You could add some journaling, you could add one of the cards from the Variety Map Pack. Choice is up to you, but I wanted to have a little bit of fun. I love being creative, you all know that. So I'm going to add this Scarecrow to mine, even though there's no Scarecrow theme in my photos. It's just a fun autumny theme. So we can slide that to the side and we can talk about supplies for our little Scarecrow. But you're going to need some paper for the hat and body. I'm using the One Design, which is this check print. I'm bringing back this paper here to cut the straw that will resemble his hair. And then I've got some cardstock scraps. I've got some black shimmer, or you could use black. I've got some white, some soft pink, and some of the beige. Then I'm just going to bring in some of my favourite paper again, because I'm going to use this for the band on his hat as well as his nose. So I'm going to just cut all the pieces to start with, and then we can set about getting them all put together. You're going to need some of your custom cutting system templates. I have the smallest circle. I've got the smallest 2 ovals from the Oval Custom Cutting System templates, and I've got the small heart from the Gemstones Custom Cutting System templates. And as for your cutting blades, we're going to work with the blue and the red, like so. To begin with, we're going to cut his face and his neck section. So I'm just going to line up the small circle on the beige cardstock, and with my red blade I'm just going to cut 1 circle from that outside track. Like so. And just set all your pieces to the side. We can bring them in once we're all done. Next, you're going to need the second smallest oval, and we only need to cut half. So I'm just going to line my template up to the edge of my cardstock. I'm probably just over halfway with that template. We're using it vertically. And again, with my red blade, you just want to cut around that outside edge. By lining it up on the edge like that, when you only need half, you're just conserving as much of your cardstock as you can. So we've got a vertical half oval like so. That's all you need from the beige cardstock. So next I'm going to bring in our check print paper here. Now if you are going to use the same papers as I'm using, I will help you in making sure that you get the check print, all running the same way for this. But I'm going to bring in the heart to begin with. And I'm just picking a random vertical line to make sure that's running through the center of my heart. This just ensures we get a nice even print for the completed hat. And I'm just going to cut around the outside edge, again with my red blade. Just take your time. Like so. Now for this next piece, we're going to use the second small oval again. And I want you to just do the same thing. Just make sure you've got one of the vertical lines running through the middle of your template. We're cutting it horizontally. And that will ensure that when your hat comes together, you've got all your checks going the same way. So again, I'm just using my red blade on the outside track. Now before you move that template and oval out of the way, just get rid of that excess. We are going to be using this again. And what I want you to do, I just want you to slide that template down about 1 inch, like I've done there. And what we're going to do, I want you to cut from side to side. So, you know, probably a width of, say, about that. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, why aren't you just cutting on the inside? If we cut on the inside, it's not going to be wide enough. So that's why I'm sliding that down 1 inch. And we just want to cut across the top of it. Just as evenly as you can. I've cut from about this point on the left to there on the right. And what that's going to enable us to do is to be able to slide the face up into the brim of that hat. So that's why we've made that little cut. So that's all we need from the checkered print. I am going to bring this paper back in because we need to cut another half oval, and this will be for our scarecrow's body. And I want to work with the reverse side. And I'm going to cut a little more than what I need. So I've probably got it just over halfway with my template. Cutting it vertically again, outside track with the red blade. And that's the same second smallest oval template that I'm working with there. So that has our body piece. We can set that aside, and that's all we need from our check paper. Next, I'm just going to bring back my favourite paper, and we're going to cut a nose. So I'll just make sure I fold that blade back over. That's my very bad habit. I don't put the lids back on straight away. We're going to work with the blue blade, and I want you to cut the inside track of this small heart. So that's the egg shape that's on the inside. And that's going to be our nose, like so. Again, let's just turn that back so I don't injure myself. And I'm just going to make another cut from this paper. So I'll just get a straight edge there of those offcuts. You can throw that. And from this paper, I need to cut a 1 inch wide strip. We only need a little scrap from this. And I'm going to cut it to about 5 inches. This will be the hat band, so that will get cut down again. So we're only using this small amount. Next, I'm going to come in with our yellow paper. And we need to cut another oval, and I'm using the second smallest oval once more, and again with the red blade. I know this seems like a lot of cutting and a lot of pieces, but once we've got these done, you'll be amazed at how quickly our little scarecrow comes together. It's quite simple. Okay, so all we've got left to cut now are our eyes and our little cheek pieces. So for that, we're going to need the smallest circle and the smallest oval, and we're going to need our blue blade. So I've got the soft pink cardstock, and we're going to cut from the inside track with our blue blade from the smallest circle. That gives us our little cheek pieces. And next I'm going to move on to the black cardstock, or in this case I've got black shimmer. It doesn't really matter what you use. This is just for the pupils of the eyes. And we're going to cut 2 ovals from the smallest oval template, and I'm working once more with my blue blade. Those two, and I need to repeat that from white cardstock. Just got a scrap here, and again the smallest oval, blue blade on the inside track. And that is all of our cutting for now. Okay, so we can bring all our little pieces back in. Now you will notice, for those of you that are going to download my instructions, you will notice on the instructions that I give the option for adding some ink to the edges of your pieces. I find this just helps define your scarecrow that little bit more. I do it to all pieces except the yellow oval that I'm using for his straw for the hair. But I add ink to everything else. This is optional, don't feel you have to do it. If you don't have any ink but you'd like to try it, you could use the wide tip of your brown journaling pen. I don't like to do this too much. A one-off like this would be fine. I don't like to do it all the time because I think it does do damage to the nibs of your markers, your journal pens. So I am just going to bring in a little bit of brown ink. I've got a ink over there, and you don't need a lot. You just need to gently go around all those pieces, just adding that little bit of shadow for definition. And as I said, it just helps to, you know, define that scarecrow just that little bit extra. Okay, so I've got all my pieces inked. I haven't done the pupils either for obvious reasons. We don't need to. Just while I've got the ink there though, I am going to make some cuts on our little neck piece. This is the half beige oval that you cut. And just with my scissors, I'm just going to go in and just cut out some random triangle pieces. This does not need to be evenly spaced and perfect. Just point cut that away like so, and that way with my ink here I can come in and just carefully add a little bit of ink to those edges as well. And if you've got ink on your fingers, I suggest washing that away just so you don't get that on any of your other pieces. But now we can start construction, and this is where it's just going to come all together really quickly. First things first, I'm going to take my heart and I'm going to cut away a good inch off that bottom. Okay, we don't need that, and let's move these out of the way. I'm going to bring in our oval piece here that we cut the slit into. And I'm not going to adhere anything into place, but you just want to line up that back piece to that oval until you're happy with the size and the shape of your hat. You might prefer more of a top hat, you might prefer it to be shorter. That's completely up to you. Just making sure everything's straight, haven't stuck anything down. I'm going to come in with my hat band, and now that was the 1 inch by 5 inch piece that we cut. And it's going to get adhered in behind like so. So you just want to eyeball it to where you're going to be happy with the position of everything. And when you're happy, you can then stick that down into place, making sure that you get it nice and straight. And because we cut that a little bit wider, you're going to be able to cut away that excess. Find my scissors, gone missing. Here they are. So I'm just turning that over, cutting away the excess. So And I've just got my ink dauber there. I'm just going to re-ink that edge of the hat band, like so. And before we stick that into place, you want to take your scarecrow's face and just slide it into that slit that you cut. Now, if you feel when you slide that in that you would like it to be wider, I suggest you just come in with your scissors and just freehand cut that a little bit wider either side of your circle. That's going to be the best way to do that. So just use your judgment there. I'm happy with how that's sitting. I've just got the top portion of that circle going through the slit, but that's why we allowed for that. And you can just add a little bit of adhesive to the top of that at the back if you like. But once you've got that circle in place, that is when we can come in now and get that lined up and stuck into place. So I'm just going to add the adhesive to the bottom edge of my hat, the top piece. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then we can line up those checks because we know we did a good job cutting our shapes, and stick that hat into place. So that's nice and simple. Okay, so we might work with the straw now. That's going to be resembling his hair. This is where we take our yellow oval that we cut, a full-sized oval. And what I want you to do, I want you to cut a good, oh look, I'm just eyeballing this, 1.5 inches off the top. The top vertically, I should say. And keep this piece. So we've got top piece, and then with the remainder, the bottom piece, I want you to cut that in half, but vertically. So you're going to have 3 pieces, okay? They'll resemble that. This is where you get to be a bit creative. We're probably not going to need the full width of this, but we're going to do some of my old friend, some fringe cutting. You know I love fringe cutting. I use it for everything. And I'm just fringe cutting up each of those larger pieces. Again, keeping it vertical. Just stopping shy of the top there. I'm certainly not being, you know, perfect in my widths or my cutting. Doesn't need to be. So we fringe cut those 2 bottom pieces, and now I'm going to fringe cut this top piece, and we're going to come up from the straight edge, cutting up vertically towards the curved edge. I know this seems fiddly and tedious, but I promise it will be worth it. Like so. Once you've fringe cut this, then I just want you to go crazy, and I just want you to remove. We're going to have confetti going everywhere. Let's bring my bin in. Just bring your scissors in, and you want to cut all different directions and widths and lengths. That doesn't need to be, you know, uniform. The rougher the better. We want him to look a little bit scruffy. And this will be the front of his straw poking under his hat. And then with your longer lengths that you've got, same thing. We can shorten them up a little bit. You'll probably find once you've got them into place, you're going to do a whole bunch more. I already know that this is going to be too wide. So I'm actually just going to cut those little bits off the inside of it there. I've just made that a little more narrow. Same with this one. I'm just going to cut those first few pieces away, and then we can put our little jagged cuts on the rest of it. Like I said, again, you'll probably come back in and redo those once they're stuck into place. But if we bring our little face back, and what you want to do is the hair can slide in up, or the straw can slide in up under the hat like so. I'm adding those long pieces first. And when you're happy with where they're positioned, you can get them cut into place. And again, like I said, if you find that some of these pieces are a little bit long, you can just snip them away. But I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive. And just slide that into the hat that we cut. And I've got them out on an angle, as you can see there, coming across his face. Same with that second piece. I'm pretty happy with how that is. I'm just going to shorten up these pieces, give him a little bit of a tidy up. So once you've got those pieces in place, then you can come in with this final piece. So simple. A bit of adhesive on the back, and we're just going to slide that up under his hat like so. And as I said to you, the scruffier he looks, the better. So if you want to, you know, cut some pieces away, by all means do it. Give him that little trim. We're on the home stretch now. Next, I'm going to bring in the neck piece and the body. I'm not aligning the top of the two ovals together because I want to see a little bit more of his shirt. So I am going to raise that just a little bit, like so. We're only going to see just that bottom edge of his neck section. So pop some adhesive across the top. Just going to make sure it's straight on my cutting mat. And then you can slide the head down over the body, making sure it's nice and straight. And then we can come in with his facial features. We'll do the eyes first. Now we've cut two ovals the same size from the different colours. All that you need to do is, we're going to cut away most of the black. I'm just adhering that to the base of the white oval, like so, and turning that over so that I can cut away what's overhanging the bottom of the eye there. Like so. And I'm just going to repeat that to that second oval as well. Again, I'm just cutting away the overhang. So that has his two eyes. And then we've got his nose. I want to stick to my finger. I'm actually going to tuck the eyes in behind the nose a little. So you just want to make sure everything's balanced. And then we've got the little cheek pieces as well, which are going to tuck in under the hair there. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm actually going to stick the nose first, and then I can tuck the eyes in underneath, making sure that's center, and I can use that center check on his hat. And before I stick the top of the nose down, I can come in with the eyes and just ever so carefully position those. Actually, I think his nose can come down a little bit too high. We can tuck the eyes in behind. Same with that second cheek piece. Now to finish, I'm going to bring back in my smallest oval template and just position that below the nose. And I've got my black journal pen here, and I'm just going to freehand draw the mouth. But by using the template, it'll ensure that we get a really nice shape. To add our little smile. like so. Now to finish, I am just going to add, I really love this little sunflower sticker. I'm just going to trim a bit off the bottom. And I'm going to tuck that just in his hat up here, like so. Now this is completely optional, and you know, it's a fiddly process, but it's one that I do like to do. I'm actually just going to add some more highlight points on my scarecrow with my journal pen, and that's just a broken stitched line on some of the elements. I'll do this on the hat band, on his nose, and probably the cheeks as well. I'll bring that up to the camera so you can see what I mean. You can see just adding that little bit of highlight to the hat band. So you can see just by adding those little highlighter, little dotted lines there, it just finishes off our embellishment nicely. So I'm going to go ahead and add him to my page. I'm actually going to put him on a slight angle and just cut away any of that minor overhang that I've got there. So I can add some adhesive to the back. Stick that into place, and I've just got a little bit of that overhang on the bottom there that I can freehand cut away with my scissors, just following the edge of my layout. I really love the layered embellishments this year. I've got a little truck, and we've got a title, and we've got some pumpkins, of course. So we could add a little truck to the base here, and using some of the stickers on the back, we could add some pumpkins to the back as well. I'm going to add just a bit of adhesive to the back, so that way it looks like the pumpkins are in the back of the truck. And because I would normally use foam squares to add my embellishments, but because these are already layered, I'm just going to use regular adhesive to stick that down into place. Okay, so I've just added some simple journaling to my layout with more of the sticker and layered embellishments. I like the aesthetic of typing my journaling. I know it's not for everybody. I know it's important to document your handwriting too, but I use just a Word document on my computer and print out my journaling on photo-safe paper, and that's how I like to add my journaling to my layout. So that completes our little autumn themed bonus layout for today. I hope you've enjoyed watching me scrap along, and perhaps you've learnt a few techniques for yourselves. I'd love for you to give this layout and the embellishment a try for yourselves. Don't forget, I will link my Croptoberfest PDF guide below this video on my website so that you can find that easily. But for now, take care friends, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.